What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the ABQJournal. Sitting here in the pit, got about 50 minutes, 55 minutes to be more accurate, till tip-off. Grand Canyon University of the Mountain West newcomer, first year in the Mountain West Conference. Pac-12 departing schools, defecting schools, some might say, leave at the end of this year. So Mountain West is adding some teams, one of them being, and the basketball, the best basketball ad of the group is Grand Canyon. They will make this a better basketball conference this year, and we'll make the Mountain West a better conference next year based on what was left from the schools that left, of course. Anyway, big first matchup in Mountain West play between these two schools. These two schools have played 5 times, 4-0 in the pit for the Lobos. And Demetrius Walker, former Lobo, was here the last time. He had transferred to Grand Canyon and then came here. And, yeah, this is a 4-0 in the pit for the Lobos, but tonight's going to be a tough one, man. They were favored by, that's what the latest line is before I say. It opened up at 8.5, and by within an hour or two last night, ESPN's line had already moved that to 7.5, which I think is a much better line than 8.5. All right, Mountain West lines tonight's down to 6.5. UNM is favored by 6.5. It did open at 8.5. That means it's gone down 2 points since last night when it opened. And that sounds about right. I think Ken Palm has it as a 7 or 8 point Lobo win, but Grand Canyon's been playing really good. If you look at what UNM has struggled with this year, it's been exactly what Grand Canyon has, and that's size inside. Really good defense, really good rebounding, and size that makes it hard on UNM to get the ball inside. And that's sort of what the key was to the Boise win over UNM. If you look at it now, that was the only win that Boise's had so far in Mountain West play. They're imploding a bit, but matchups make fights, right? And it's not a good matchup for the Lobos. Grand Canyon goes to Boise and beats the crap out of them. And then here we are tonight, Grand Canyon with a similar roster in terms of being one of the top 20 teams in the country in average roster height. Boise State is 19. They're basically the same size, average height across the board. A lot of 6'7", 6'8", got a couple 7-footers on this team. And they're gonna pose some problems. I still think New Mexico's a better team overall. We'll see what they learned from the first game against Boise State with that team, where they were prevented from getting the ball inside. Not much passing was going on. Let me scoot in here real quick. And so I do think that there's a pathway, obviously, for UNM to win. Got people walking around here. There's a pathway, obviously, for UNM to win. There's a pathway, obviously, for Grand Canyon to come into the pit and shock UNM a little bit. It wouldn't be a shock to everybody. I do think there's a lot of people that think Grand Canyon will and can and will come in and beat the Lobos tonight. I think the Lobos win. I don't think it's going to be a big cover, big margin, I should say. I could see this being a 3 or 4 point game. I don't think it's going to be a buzzer beater, but I can see it being an ugly, grinded out kind of game. What I think is bodes well for the Lobos is that Boise State game. While it showed that this is a horrible matchup for them, I just don't see Eric Olin and staff not learning something from what happened at the Boise State game, right? So I think that a lot of airtime here for Steve Kirkland. I can show you guys this side of the court if you want. Nothing happening. So, all right. So the line is down to 6.5. It opened it up at 8.5. And there you go. Let's see what some of your comments are. John Romero is already in on YouTube. Bryce Drew isn't going to know what bus hit the Antelopes after tonight. Feed the Beast, i.e. Bullion, 21 and counting. All right. So 20 home wins in a row and counting. 20 wins here in the pit in a row. John is saying they will get 21 tonight. That is the 5th longest active streak in college basketball right now, Division I. And the Lobos have a chance. They are favored, like I said. They are 4-1 in league play. As Eric Olin noted yesterday at his press conference, yeah, we're feeling pretty good about how we're playing, but let's be realistic here. We haven't played a team with a winning record in league play yet. Haven't played a single team above them in the standings yet. Line in my article today said now the hard part. It's not to say that they've had the easiest of schedules. Technically speaking, Utah State has, according to Ken Palm, who does rank the schedules in terms of what teams they've already played in the league and what teams they haven't and all that kind of stuff. And Utah State has played the easiest. They're 5-0. They've also destroyed everybody they've played pretty much, has Utah State. So UNM tonight playing their first team with the winning record in league play, and it's going to be a tough matchup. Some grammar vision action going here. There we go. There's the Grand Canyon that we speak of. I know you guys like this high-tech stuff I got going, right? A little webcam here that I just move around and knock over cords. So, anyway, as far as injuries go, no big surprises. Chris Howell is out with an oblique injury. Pull up the latest just to make sure nothing surprised me since the last Mountain West update, which the last one I checked was last night's initial availability report, which showed just the standard walk-ons being gone for the Lobos. And here we go. By the way, Colorado State's Kyle Jorgensen, who was listed as questionable going into tonight's Fresno State game, is out. They play Boise State on Friday. That's the game they want him back for. Tonight, questionable for New Mexico. Nobody. Out. Chris Howell, oblique injury. So there you go. Nobody is out or questionable for Grand Canyon. Got a full complement of players to their Bryce Drew's availability. Charles is in on YouTube. I'm surprised that Eric called out his record in the Mountain West. The Lobos have not beat in love with the wedding record. The Lobos have not beat in love with the wedding record. I believe what you're saying is they did not beat anyone with a winning record. Maybe that's a voice to chat kind of issue you got going there. But I believe what Charles is saying is what I mentioned there. But yeah, Eric's pointing out they haven't beat anybody in league play with a winning record yet. And winning record overall, of course, but not winning record in league play. If you look at the standings right now, I will tell you, according to KenPom.com, the schedule, in-conference schedule, strength of schedule. The easiest record so far, ranked 12 out of 12, San Diego State. The second easiest strength of schedule is Utah State. And New Mexico has played the ninth. So looks like UNLV, both UNLV and, just UNLV's at 10. And if you look at Grand Canyon, they've played the 7th. So Grand Canyon and New Mexico have played very similar schedules so far. Grand Canyon lost by 10 at home to the same Colorado State team that New Mexico beat by 10 on the road. So if you just look at that, okay, well, comparison bodes well for New Mexico. If you look at the Boise State game, Grand Canyon blew out Boise State at Boise State, whereas the Lobos lost an ugly game at Boise State, but shut down Boise State. I mean, the defense was fine. It was the offense that was atrocious. And there you go. That's the difference between these two right now is if you look at similar opponents or like opponents, rather. Actually, they also both played San Jose State. Both teams blew out San Jose State on their home courts. BT's in. What do you envision for the league making the tournament? I'm guessing you're asking who's made who, what, how many bids are coming out of the Mountain West for the NCAA tournament. And I would say it's going to be a 2-bid league. I would cite 3 rather than just 1. But I would say right now, and we're 5 games in, and so far neither Utah State nor UNM have played a team with the winning record in the league. I don't think San Diego State has either. No, that's not true. They played Nevada. But they've also played Fresno State, San Jose State, Air Force. They've played the bottom teams already, too, have the Aztecs. So, yeah, I just don't think it's worth spending much time right now prognosticating on the NCAA tournament when the Mountain West's top teams right now have not yet even played each other than that San Diego State-Nevada game. Brian Cantu is saying Chol needs to play more inside and rebound more. He's not going to. You may think he needs to, and a lot of people probably agree with you. I can tell you a lot of people agree with you, but that's not going to happen. That's just not what they have him designed to do. It's not what he came in for. It's not what Eric Olin wants him to do. Eric Olin wants a stretch 4. He wants a 4-man, a forward, a 6'9" guy who can stretch the floor. Now, they need him to go in and rebound more, but they get that from all their guards. But I think one thing to help people understand how they want Antonio Chol to play is Eric Olin wants him to be a guard. He is listed as a guard. He is not listed as a forward. He is not a back to the basket, take the ball and score down low kind of guy. If he scores at the rim, it's because he attacked the rim from the three-point line, from the perimeter. Now, he can do some more of that, but he's not going to go down low and wait for the ball. That is not what this offense is designed to do. There's nothing in this offense that really does that other than every now and then Bullion and Rock, you'll see them trying to feed the post that way, but you're not going to see anybody else really get fed entry passes with their back to the basket. That's just not what this does. An NBA-style offense is 5 guys out on the perimeter creating space, a couple cuts through here and there. All that space, when a guy drives to the lane, a Dayton Albury or Uriah Tenet, maybe Luke Hopp, when one of those guys drives to the lane, takes their defender and draws in another defender, when that other defender's drawn in, the space created there is where you're supposed to pass. That is what this offense basically is in a nutshell, is create space by being on the outside, not by being down low and clogging up the lane. Being on the outside, create that space, and then see what happens. But Antonio Chol, I know he's 6'9", and everyone wants to see him play inside. They're just not going to. It's just not what they – again, it's not what they brought him in for, but it's also not what he's ever practiced. They have nothing really designed for Antonio Chol to be a down low, feed me the ball in the post kind of guy. No update on Howell. Howell's going to be out probably another couple weeks, the oblique injury. So, Kevin, the update on the Patton brothers remains exactly the same. Kalai Patton has never had anything to update other than he's redshirting this year. Kalai Patton has never been questionable, injured, illness, and nothing like that. He's redshirting this year. He's not playing. So that's Kalai Patton. And he's still with us. He's right, as we speak, he's right over there with the team. I'll move this back to the Lobos side. You can actually see Kalai Patton in his warm-ups. He helps the team warm up before every game. He practices. He is a redshirt. And that is the only update with Kalai Patton, is that there is no update. The update with Kevin Patton is that there is no update. I'm not going to get into it other than to say, even if UNM wanted to say more, that they can't. There is something going on with Kevin Patton that people need to know is not a discipline thing, is not an injury thing. There's something going on. He is out for personal reasons. I'm going to leave it at that. The school is leaving it at that. There will not be an update on Kevin Patton anytime soon. John Romero is in. Nice to see. It says Gervais Miller, but it's Jarvis Miller working into the rotation. His shooting looks sweet. A lot of that has to do with Chris Howell's minutes being gone. With Chris Howell injury, Luke Kopp's minutes have sort of been slid into the Chris Howell starting role, and to Javis Miller's sort of then taken over the Luke Kopp minutes as the backup guard. What Eric Olin has said about Javis is his defense. Like, we see him hitting those threes. We're like, wow, that's a good piece, right? That's what he did in the Summit League. He's a 6th man of the year last year for the Summit League. Hit a lot of threes. That's what I think a lot of us expected from him. What Eric Olin's loving from him is he's been playing really good defense. He wasn't doing that in November. When he was playing earlier in the year, his plus-minus numbers and his defense was, for whatever reason, really struggling. It was really poor. Didn't play much of December. Played 5 consecutive Division I games where he was a healthy, did not play. A healthy DNP, coach's decision. And now he's a regular part of the rotation again. Does that change when Chris Howell comes back? Some, it will, because Chris Howell's going to get somebody's minutes, but I don't see Javis Miller going back to DNP. I don't think he's a guy now the rest of the year that will not play a game when healthy. He will play if available. BT is in on YouTube. Where the Lobo losses coming from for the rest of the season? At Utah State, maybe Saturday at San Diego State, maybe at Grand Canyon, maybe tonight. I can tell you that Ken Palm's predictions in game to game for the New Mexico Lobos say they will lose Saturday at San Diego State by 3, 75-72. They will lose Wednesday, February 4th at home to Utah State. They will lose Tuesday, February 24th at Nevada by 1, 74-73. And at home, on the road, March 7th in Logan, Utah, 81-72. So Ken Palm's predictions are that they will have 4 more losses this season. And those are the 4 that the game-by-game probabilities predict. Now, that's not to say those are the 4 that it's going to end up being, of course. It's not what Ken Palm predicts. Ken Palm predicts them to finish the season at 23-8 overall, 14-6 in league play. And there you go. Let's see what else we got here. Getting text messages. Sorry, guys. Steve Singletary's in on YouTube. Who do you think will pick up the scoring if GCU smothers Hall? I would say Antonio Ochoa's going to have a big game tonight. I do think that this is a game where trying to get into Tomislav Bullion is going to be a tough ask. Now, against Santa Clara, Bullion was great about taking their 7-footer out early because he can play on the perimeter, pull the 7-footer out. The 7-footer doesn't have the feet to keep up with Tomislav. If Tom brings him out and then tries to blow by him and get to the rim like he did against Santa Clara, he could pick up fouls. I could see that happening. Problem is Grand Canyon has another 7-footer on the bench. They also have a 6'8" forward who's probably the best rebounder in the league, not named Tomislav Bullion. And I just think that those guys, like the size inside, is going to be a problem for Tomislav Bullion to have a huge night. So if Jake Hall is eliminated, I don't see Bullion being the big scorer tonight. I could see Dayton Albury possibly being that guy, but let's just say him and Jaden Henley sort of cancel each other out. They're both drivers, physical drivers that create a lot of contact and draw a lot of fouls. I think Antonio Ochoa's a matchup problem for Grand Canyon. I don't know that their wings are going to be able to contain Antonio Ochoa on the perimeter. Again, this doesn't mean I see him as going down low and calling for the ball. What I see is Antonio Ochoa on the perimeter, either blowing by players, defenders, and getting inside and creating some issues, or just knocking down threes on the outside and stretching the floor, which is what they want Antonio Ochoa to be doing. I do think he needs to be more aggressive, though. I do think he needs to take more shots. And there we go. Mark is in on X. Can we all just admit Chris Howell's absence isn't a big deal? So far, it sure hasn't been overall. There's Frank Mercagliano. But, yeah, Chris Howell's absence so far, the oblique injury hasn't really affected him. I would say they could have used him in Boise. They definitely could have used him in Boise. But that is UNM's Sports Information Director, Frank Mercagliano, who will be helping out on the altitude call tonight. So there you go. Checking in on the other lines tonight, guys. All right, so the other lines are this. Grand Canyon at UNM. UNM favored by 6.5. Colorado State at Fresno State. Colorado State on the road favored by 3.5. See a road favorite in the Mountain West all that often, but that is those bottom three teams, Fresno State, San Jose State, and Air Force, are what they are, right? Fresno State's the best of those three, but there's a reason Colorado State's favored on the road. Air Force at San Jose State, 2-0-5 team. San Jose State favored by 6.5. One of those two teams will be 0-6 tonight. One of those two teams will be 1-5. Quick math for you. And then Boise State at UNLV. I'll tell you what, that's a tricky game. Boise State at UNLV. Boise State's awful right now. They're just a mess. Leon Rice is complaining about fans, then complaining about media telling fans that he's been complaining about them, and then getting worst home loss ever against Utah State. After all that, and that was after blasting his 2 point guards. He only has 2 point guards and played them both. He inserted them as a coach into the starting lineup, then complained about their production as both being in the starting lineup together. There was a lot of blame to go around last week, and an awful lot of it seemed to be pointing everywhere but Leon. He did the next day when he ripped BJ Raines for a headline that said he blasted the fans. He did say, we all have some accountability, the players and me and the fans. But the reality is, right after that Grand Canyon blowout loss, that embarrassing loss for Boise State, he blamed the fans. He said that was the worst home environment he could remember. It was awful. It was a neutral court environment. And then said, I like the fans that were here, but that's still blaming the fans as a whole when you say that was a horrible home environment. Then he said it was because it was a 9 o'clock start, and he's going to do everything in his power not to play again one of those. He wasn't complaining when UNM had 6 of them in one of these past 2 seasons. He played here in the pit multiple times when it was an 8:30 or 9 p.m. start on a weeknight. Those complaints weren't there. Now that Boise State has elevated itself, pat on the back for them doing so, to the point where the TV broadcast, the TV partners are saying, no, we want a Boise State home game. Because it is TV who picks these. It's not the league. It is your TV partners they're getting each team, a few $1 million a year between football and basketball, predominantly football. But it's the TV partners that make the 9 p.m. starts, not the league. And the TV partners have asked for more Boise State 9 p.m. starts this year. That's because you've been good. That's what San Diego State has had to deal with for years. frankly, even though they had a decade of bad basketball, it's what UNM has had to deal with in the pit for years. The complaints weren't there then, and it did affect attendance. I've written about it in the past. People here on Press Row with me in Albuquerque have written about it. Mark Ziegler in San Diego has written about it. Yeah, it sucks on a weeknight, but the league's been doing it for a long time, and it happened before Wednesday night when Leon decided he wasn't going to do this anymore and didn't want the Boise State fans to have to go through a 9 p.m. start. I'm sorry, man, but that's not changing, by the way, with the new deal in the Pac-12. They're going to have late starts, too. The appeal of basketball during the winter to media partners for West Coast teams is the 9 p.m. start time. It is the Pacific time zone start time, 8 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Mountain. So I don't know what all that complaining was about. It blew my mind, and I've talked to some coaches and some people around the Mountain West, some other reporters who were just blown away that was the rant. Blame the fans and then blame the reporter for reporting that you blame the fans. And it just, I think, came across as really, really low level for a coach who is the winningest, has more Mountain West wins than any coach in history. It's a fantastic program, and he should be above that. That's right, Steve. He was just reporting what he said. Quick football question. Is there any new transfers that we've already signed? Yeah, I don't know what the transfer update is today, Steve. Sean is Sean's back at the office. I was just there earlier. I recorded the podcast, and I'll post it a little bit later. Non-basketball podcast. So I don't know how many people watching this are going to be in love with it, but it is a What's Up in 505 podcast with new Isotopes general manager Chrissy Baines, and just some update on local Albuquerque sports. But no, Sean is the guy to ask. Sorry, Kevin. Sean's the guy that I got to check in with on the transfers. He was the one tracking those today. So there you go. 29 minutes till tip off in the pit between Grand Canyon and the UNM Lobos. And right now it looks like we got somebody trying to fix the rim over there, and some people practicing on that same rim, which is kind of weird. They usually stop shooting, but there we go. It is what it is. Appreciate you guys. ABQJournal.com for all the coverage of this game later. Tomorrow morning, Emptying the Notebook will be up in the morning. And there you go. Follow me along on social media. Thanks for being here, guys.